This is Vanguard 500 index fund, basically S&P index fund, ETF, versus VT, World Index Fund. Take a look at the performance, folks. Take a look at that performance since inception, close to inception anyway. A little over 11 years. Well, looks to me like 84.71% for VT. S&P, 223.54%. Folks, we're talking about a threefold outperformance. The S&P index, or the Vanguard VOO, outperformed VT by 300% over that time. That's right. Think about that. Expense ratio, 0.03% for the VOO. 0.03%. Let's take a look now at VT. What is it? 0.08%? Holy cow. That's like 270% higher? Wow! Let me just mention one thing. I've talked about this before. You can go through these articles here. Why Jack Bogle is wrong on foreign investing. Jack Bogle. Okay, yeah, this is the one, actually. I hate to use a street.com article. Street.com is a Jim Cramer boiler room garbage. But anyone who criticizes some high-level person, if they're not high-level and accomplished, they have no right to criticize them. They're just an idiot, right? And that's why I say, look, I can criticize Wall Street research and say, I mean, anybody can be critical of anything, but if you want to have a valid claim for a criticism, you can't just be a putz. You can't be a clown, right? If you're going to criticize Jack Bogle, then you have to have some expertise, because otherwise that person's trying to pitch their own thing, right? You find something in the media. Why Jack Bogle is wrong about international investing? Oh, okay, so you're just basically trying to pitch something. You're pitching ads. You're pitching funds. You're pitching your agenda. You see what I'm saying? Obviously, Jack Bogle had his own opinions on things. I don't agree with everything, but generally speaking, what he says is right for the majority of people, the majority of time. And he's obviously, he was an industry veteran, an intelligent guy. It wasn't like he was some clown that was working at Walmart and decided to open up an index fund. So you see what I'm saying? If you're going to, ask yourself, if somebody's being critical of somebody, just like me being critical of Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, well, you know what? I can do that. I'm in that position to be critical. You see? So, and of course, most people aren't in that position, and most people won't even criticize. They'll think that if you're critical of Warren Buffett, you don't know what you're talking about. You see, because they're that stupid. So even if you're not, if you don't possess expertise in the investment world, but let's say you listen to my arguments, you read my arguments, and you tell someone about Munger, Buffett, or whomever, they're going to say, well, you know what you're talking about. Okay, well, you can cite me. Say, well, this is what he says. You know about this guy? You see? But anyway. So, let's take a look here. Jack Bogle. Trump is wrong, ETFs are bogus, and foreign investing is useless. So, I've talked about this before. What he basically means by ETFs being bogus is that he doesn't like the liquidity. He doesn't like the trading back and forth. And you know what ETFs stand for, right? Exchange Traded Funds. They're on the exchanges. Mutual funds, do you all know that mutual funds don't trade on the exchange? Pull up a ticker. You're not going to see a quote. They're not there. When you buy and sell a mutual, now, you can buy and sell them in your brokerage account, right, if they're offered, but the orders aren't executed until after the end of the day. Now, when I was working in the industry. I didn't sell too many mutual funds at all. But what you do is, you drop a ticket order. These days, you can probably, it's on the computer, but what you would do before is you drop a ticket. You write out a ticket for a mutual fund, and you hand it to the back office. You see? The back office that handles all the administrative stuff, the trade settlement, all that stuff, the bookkeeping. And in the old days, they also handled, depending upon the firm, they handle the skimming operations. You guys know what that is? The skimming. That's when they would actually defraud customers. They'd report the wrong execution price. Anyway, you could look into that. That was mostly in the mid to early 90s and before that, for the most part. So let's go ahead now and take a look. What do we have here? See if he's got anything here. So he just talks about ETFs because of the liquidity. You don't want people to trade them. You see, you want them to hold them if you're a boglehead. So let me cut to the chase here. So this is Vanguard 500 Index Fund, basically S&P Index Fund ETF, versus VT World Index Fund. Take a look at the performance, folks. Take a look at that performance since inception, close to inception anyway. A little over 11 years. Well, looks to me like 84.71% for VT. S&P, 223.54%. Folks, we're talking about a threefold outperformance. The S&P index, or the Vanguard VOO, outperformed VT by 300% over that time. That's right. Think about that. Expense ratio, 0.03% for the VOO. 0.03%. Let's take a look now at VT. What is it? 0.08%? Holy cow. That's like 270% higher? Wow! Once again, if you want to be diversified, you don't want to be over-diversified. You got VT, you got 5,000 stocks. That's too much. You want international exposure? Buy the S&P index. You got international exposure, and you got international exposure with top companies, top brands. Let me give you an example. If you want exposure in the Philippines, would you rather have McDonald's or Jollibee? Which one's going to do well, make more money, have higher profit margins, have more earnings growth? Which one do you think? Which one's better run? You understand? Jollibee, by the way, is a Filipino. It's a well-known Filipino kind of burger place. You understand what I'm saying? Why would you invest in the local companies? You're not going. It's not good. And also, those companies aren't as well hedged for many macroeconomic factors. In addition to that, people talk about economic growth in the emerging markets. Economic growth, please tell me how economic growth, GDP growth, how does that directly correlate to earnings growth on the stock market? Can somebody explain that to me, please? I'd like to know. If you've got the answer, you can educate me. There is no direct correlation. That's indirect correlation. It's garbage. The direct correlation that people assume is because you're talking about advanced countries. America is very institutionalized, right? Economic activity in America is largely from large corporations and the government, correct? When you go out and buy something, where do you go? You go to Target, you go to Walmart, you go to General Dollar. These are all publicly traded companies. Groceries, where do you go? Albertsons, Kroger's, Safeway. They're all publicly traded companies. You understand that? If you're buying in the Philippines, these are little shops, little small businesses that aren't tied to the stock market. No one in the world has ever brought up this point, guaranteed. You're hearing it now, and you'll hear somebody copy me in the future. Guaranteed, write it down. Write this down. I've never heard anybody in the world mention this. This is why I can charge for my insight, because it's world class, it's exclusive, and it's superior. It's that simple. We've talked about the performance of VT. Let's actually, you know what? Let's get a chart here. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and show you the performance here, the actual numbers. Okay, so this is VT, and you could take a look and see. So the inception was June 24th, 2008 for VT. Does everybody see that? Right? And that was, so you can see the average annual return compounded was 6.18%. That's not too high. It's not too high. 10-year is considerably better. That's 9.01%. Let's take a look now, because we're going to look at the 10-year, because the inception is different for both of them. So we're going to just look at the 10-year. We'll look at the 5 and 3 as well. So VOO, what's the performance? 10-year, almost 13%, 12.92%. Once again, let's compare. That's substantial. 3% more each year. That's substantial. Compound 3%. Do the compounding over a 10-year period. It adds up. This is VT once again. Take a look at the 5-year. 7%. How about VOO? 11.3%. Substantial. VT 3-year, 6.5%. VOO, 10.5%. Now remember, these two funds, there's a huge overlap. VOO is the S&P 500. VT contains 60% of the S&P 500. Yet you're seeing this huge disparity in performance. Think about that. If you can do some pretty simple arithmetic. So if 40% of VT is international stocks, 60% is the S&P 500. That means the S&P 500 is carrying this stock. This fund. It's carrying the performance. It's outperforming substantially, and the international stocks are greatly underperforming. If you do some math right now. So 10-year VT is 9%. 10-year VOO is, let's call it 13. Remember, VOO is the S&P 500. VT contains 60% of the S&P 500. So you've got a difference of 3% each year, right? Difference, 3% difference over a 10-year period. And that accounts for that huge outperformance of VOO over a 10-year period. So the question we must ask is, what's the return of the international stocks in VT? What's the average return or the estimated return of the international holdings portion of VT? Remember, VT contains 40% international stocks. And the overall fund greatly underperforms the S&P 500. VT contains 60% of the S&P 500. We want to know what that 40% international stocks, how that's performing. Do some simple math. What do you get? Anybody good at math? Well, this is just a guess in my head, but I would say if you do the numbers, it looks to me like the international performance, the 10-year international performance of VT, that is to say the 40% international holdings, the 10-year is about 1.6% annually. Think about that. You can do very simple math and assume it's going to be 3% is a good estimate. But I think it's lower because Remember, you're getting 60% versus 40%, so you're getting a greater amount of compounding, right, over time. So in other words, the compounding effect is a little stronger for the S&P 500 portion of VT because it's 60%. So my guess, let's just call it 2%. Even if you say 3%, which is not correct, even if you assume 3%, that's garbage. That's like putting your money in a money market account or like a CD, right? Think about that. Without the S&P 500 and VT, this thing, I mean, imagine if this were 100% international. It would collapse. This is Vanguard 500 Index Fund, basically S&P Index Fund, ETF, versus VT, World Index Fund. Take a look at the performance, folks. Take a look at that performance since inception, close to inception anyway. A little over 11 years. Well, looks to me like 84.71% for VT. S&P, 223.54%. Folks, we're talking about a threefold outperformance. The S&P index, or the Vanguard VOO, outperformed VT by 300% over that time. That's right. Think about that. Expense ratio, 0.03% for the VOO. 0.03%. Let's take a look now at VT. What is it? 0.08%? Holy cow. That's like 270% higher? Wow! This is not rocket science, folks. This is I mean, think about it. Whenever you look at a fund, I mean, you're going to look at the performance, you're going to look at expense ratios, you're going to look at a lot of things. And at some point you're probably going to compare. Right? If someone's telling you that this index fund is better than the S&P 500, I have to believe that you're going to take a look at the performance. Now, of course, performance is not everything, but I've already explained why VT has sucked and is probably going to continue to suck for quite some time. That's my expertise and insight, which not many people know about, because I understand the macroeconomic landscape of international stocks. And I've explained it all in brief in a previous video. It all makes sense, right? But then you have people out there who want to say I'm chasing performance. No. I'm putting the inception period. I'm going as far back. In fact, now I'm showing you every single period. Let's take a look. VOO, 10-year period, 13%. Call it 13. VT, 10-year period, 9%. VOO, 5-year period, 11.3. VT, 5-year period, 7.1. Just go down the list. 3-year VOO, 5.6. VT, 3-year, 6.5. I'm sorry, 10.6. Yeah, I said 10.6. I mean, just look at the chart. Just look at this. I own some international funds, but I actively manage them. There are times to be an international, and there's times not to be an international. The problem is that the bogleheads are passive. They buy and hold. They're not in the game of knowing when to be in the Brazilian stock market and when to be out of it. You understand? So, because if it goes up and down, you don't get the compounding effect. You all understand that? I showed that before with FXI. It goes up and down. It doesn't appreciate. You're not getting compounding. You guys understand that? What I'm explaining now is it's a critical understanding. I could charge this in a course for a lot of money. It's that valuable. You're getting courses on stupid fucking dog shit by idiots. They're charging a fortune. I mean, take a look at this stuff. Take a look. It's plain as day. Okay. Now, do you want Russian stocks? You think VT doesn't have Russian investments? Anybody out there think that? I'll guarantee you it does. I guarantee. Anybody want to bet me? Well, I don't know. They're hiding it now, I guess. I don't know, but take a look at the countries on VT, the main countries. Italy collapsing, Spain not doing well at all, and was in a sovereign debt crisis along with Portugal a few years ago. Right? Europe is in obviously trouble. Europe has not done well, and is not, the future of Europe is not looking good for many reasons. Obviously, not just about the current situation, but the whole euro debacle and all that stuff. Taiwan, very risky. Hong Kong, a disaster, basically. And then you've got the BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. India is the only star there. Brazil is up and down, and China is in deep trouble. I mean, China's economy is obviously collapsing now, and they probably won't even deliver 3% growth this year. But they'll report much higher, of course, because they lie about their data. China's still in lockdown right now, although they claim that they're not. It's not as much as before, but there's still 20% of their population's in lockdown. So let's take a look. You don't believe me? I'm going to go ahead and show you here. This is from the latest annual report from VT 2020. I think it was October. Take a look. Now, this is not all the Russian securities. This is just the beginning. There's another full page. This is just where it begins. Okay. If you think that VT doesn't have Russian stocks, there's another full page of this. You can take a look. Go on the site. You can download. I didn't do it now because the report's so long. There's so many securities. I mean, there's more than 5,000, I think. You can take a look at the annual report. It's probably good to save it now, because when the annual report comes out in 2022, there's a pretty good chance they'll not have Russia on there, right? Window dressing, or they'll certainly decrease, right? So it's not just these stocks. So you can see 0.4% exposure. So someone will say, well, that's just 0.4%. Okay, well, you want to lose 0.4% potentially, right? You see what I'm saying? There's a lot more. Once again, take a look at the annual report. It's on the VT site. You can download it. You can see there's another full page of Russian investments, many of which they're frozen. Folks, if you're listening to people on YouTube about anything related to investments, you're in trouble. I'm telling you, you don't want to hear this from me. You're going to not like me for telling you this, that you're in trouble, that you're going to be your own worst enemy. You see, the people out there that you like are the ones telling you that you can do it. You can do it. I'm going to help you. Let's do it. Those are the fraudsters out there. Those are the people that are exploiting you, making money, selling you into the sewer. People don't want to hear things that don't uplift them. Unfortunately, even though I'm saving you. I'm the guy saving you. I'm telling you, if you're on YouTube, if you've been on YouTube looking for investment, financial insight, information, ideas, these people are all idiots and frauds that are doing that. All of them. And you need to if you're looking for investments, just buy the S&P index and don't ever pay attention to YouTube. Don't ever pay attention to the financial media, and move on with your life. Use that time, because many of you are probably using up 5, 10, 20 hours a week, maybe more, on YouTube, consuming trash. Ask yourself what you could be doing with that time. Add that time up over the course of a year. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You could be getting many university degrees. You could be learning many high-level skills and taking certified courses. You could start an HVAC business as a second business on the side, passing those exams. That's just one example. You could do a lot of things. You could enjoy time with your family and friends. Okay, I'm telling you, folks. Anybody that says like-minded community wants you to be sequestered into their cult. They want you to go to their Discord or their forum and stay there, and so you can be brainwashed and isolated from any possibility of any question, of any criticism of your cult leader. You see, that's a fact. All these guys want to open their Discord, and if you are a problem, if you're raising questions that are causing doubt, you get booted. You get booted, and nobody knows you got booted. Same thing with Facebook groups, private groups. Okay? Here's what you need to do, folks. First and foremost, ask all these people on YouTube, the fake investment gurus, especially the ones that pretend like they're fake investment guru detectives. Start with them. Ask them why they've never come out and said, hey, confronted Tom Nash about the $10,000 I'll give him. $10,000 award I'll give him. They don't confront him about that. Why? Right? Why? And anybody that congregates with Tom Nash, why aren't they challenging the guy? All these people you see posting affiliate links that don't provide disclosure, how many times have I mentioned this in videos and in live chat and live streams? They're breaking Federal Trade Commission law. You must provide a disclosure describing any financial interest, direct or indirect, any way that you are benefiting from the posting of those affiliate links. You must disclose that, or you're breaking Federal Trade Commission law, which is global. And look at all the scammers that are doing it. All of them. Folks, like I said, if you're on YouTube looking for investment insight, investment strategies, investment education, investment ideas, you're in deep trouble. You're going to lose your ass because you're looking for all the right answers in all the wrong places. There's something about your lack of knowledge and or judgment that sent you to YouTube looking for these things that don't exist on YouTube. That means that you're kind of like you're walking blindly down the street of a ghetto at 3 a.m. with money hanging out of your pocket or a drug-infested zone. You're blindly walking down a drug-infested zone at 3 a.m. with money hanging out of your pocket. If you're on YouTube looking for investment ideas, investment education, and investment insight, investment analysis, that's what you're doing. You're like a person walking at 3 a.m. with money hanging out of your pocket, walking down South Central LA. What does that mean? That means you're clueless and you got bad judgment. And that means you better get the hell out of that whole neighborhood and never go back for your own good. You understand? That's what that means. You don't want to hear that, but that's the best advice that you're ever going to get because it's going to save you for the future. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, you're listening to Kathy Wood, and listen, I mean, why would you listen to a con artist? You don't even know if she's a con? If you're greedy, you're susceptible to con artists. If you're not greedy, you're less susceptible to being conned. Okay? People that are looking for things in the wrong places because ultimately they're their own worst enemy. It's their fault. I mean, I don't get it. Are you guys going to go to some guy that's homeless on the street begging for money and ask him to do a root canal on you? Or some guy, he comes up to you and say, I'll give you a root canal. for $100. What's the first thing you're going to ask? You're going to say, well, are you a dentist? How are you qualified to give me a root canal? Now, if you go to a dentist's office, you're going to assume he's a dentist. You're not going to say, well, let me see your degree. He's got an office there. You're going to assume that, right? This is the problem on YouTube. You all assume these guys. I don't know why you would assume that they're credible. They never worked on Wall Street. They're not experts. They're fucking scammers. Think about it. I can only help a person so much. I mean, some people can't be helped. Always ask the question, how are you qualified to be speaking about this topic? How are you qualified to be giving an analysis, a presentation on this topic? How are you qualified? That's the key question. Ask that to any of these guys on YouTube. Now, you're going to get some bullshit answers, of course. Okay? I haven't found anybody qualified. Now, you have people that claim fake, bogus credentials. This is Vanguard 500 Index Fund, basically S&P Index Fund, ETF, versus VT, World Index Fund. Take a look at the performance, folks. Take a look at that performance since inception, close to inception anyway. A little over 11 years. Well, looks to me like 84.71% for VT. S&P, 223.54%. Folks, we're talking about a threefold outperformance. The S&P index, or the Vanguard VOO, outperformed VT by 300% over that time. That's right. Think about that. Expense ratio, 0.03% for the VOO. 0.03%. Let's take a look now at VT. What is it? 0.08%? Holy cow. That's like 270% higher? Wow!
In terms of getting back as an investor, if it's coming down to here, almost irrespective of what's going on, I have to believe, if I have to make a call in advance, and of course I can change depending on what happens, but I have to believe this is where you want to start doing that 18, 17, around there. Their earnings report is a complete game changer, at least for quite a while. Bottom line, NVIDIA now is going to enter the realm of Tesla, Apple, and all these other big, I mean, listen, NVIDIA can come down to 150, come down to $100. If you don't think it's possible, then you don't understand how the market works. I mean, listen, Nvidia can come down to 150, come down to $100. If you don't think it's possible, then you don't understand how the market works.